that's when I thought, how can I scale this for other people to help as many people read through Scripture as possible?
Your podcast, let's talk about it. First of all, the inspiration behind it.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
I've been a Christian since I was a kid, and a lot of Christians attempt to read through the Bible every year and fail miserably usually, or at least I did. I tried and failed so many times. And the first time I made it through, it was because a pastor friend offered to answer my questions along the way. So I went from just sort of accumulating confusion to accumulating understanding, and that was enticing to me. Then I did that for one other friend, and she read through for the first time ever, and I thought, maybe this is the ticket, maybe this is the key, is answering the questions as you move through the process. And so I thought, how can I do that for as many people as possible? Because it just awakened things in my heart that I knew were possible for other people as well.
Was this something that started as an adult, or you got this early on, this kind of revelation early on?
I had grown up trying to read and really failed until 2009 was when my pastor walked me through Scripture. So it wasn't until 2019 that I walked the other friend through Scripture, so it was my 10th trip through.
Okay.
Because I read through every year now. And so when I walked her through in 2019, that was when I sort of had that idea. So, I'm sorry, that was actually 2018. I walked her through in 2018, and 2019 we launched the podcast. So it was a very quick turnaround from walking her through to me launching the podcast. But
so you think that's what kind of did it, walking her through, and it was just kind of like one of those, ooh, I can go do a podcast maybe now. How did that happen?
Yeah, she and I were walking on the Katy Trail, and it was September of 2018. And she said, I can't believe I'm about to finish the Old Testament. Because we're in the Old Testament for 9 months. And so she's rounding the corner into the New Testament. And she said, I never would have been able to do this if you hadn't walked me through. And I thought, I wouldn't have been able to do it if my pastor hadn't walked me through. And so that's when I thought, how can I scale this for other people to help as many people read through Scripture as possible? And between September of 2018 and January 1st of 2019, I was brewing on how to do this. We launched January 1st, and it's just been incredible because my prayer was that 300 people would read through the Bible with me. That was what I really wanted. I just want 300 people to read through the Bible with me. And God has blown that out of the water. So that's been really fun.
Yeah, so are you guys, when you do it, you're reading cover to cover, pretty much? Or
we're reading the whole thing. We don't read it front to back. We read it in chronological order.
Gotcha.
So that has you flipping around a little bit to get the story in the order it happened.
So talk about how the popularity has just beyond what you thought it would be, right?
Totally.
So how exciting is that?
And through word of mouth, which is incredible. Just one person will do it, and then in the same way that I was awakened with a love for Scripture because of my pastor, and wanted to spread that to other people, that happens for most individuals. Most people who do it want to keep doing it and want to invite other people into that joy because they find something that they experience something about God that they hadn't before. And so it really has been this cumulative word of mouth, and we've watched every year, not only do people come back and keep doing it, but they're bringing other people into it. So year one, the woman who did it by herself, year two, she's bringing her husband into it, and year three, they're bringing their kids into it, and year four, they're bringing their church into it. And it's just been really cool to watch it span ages and genders, and just really love watching how God has grown it.
And you used that word awakened. So talk a little bit more about that and what that was like for you and how you see that in the people who are now going through this with you.
The interesting thing it's a little bit embarrassing to share, but the first time I read through Scripture, when I finished reading, I didn't like God. And my pastor who had walked me through had the opportunity to see the lens that I was reading Scripture through, because he had been answering my questions. So he knew the kinds of things I was looking for and frustrated by and confused by. And so at the end of it, I said, I think you've ruined my life because I know that this book is true and I don't like him. And he said, okay, I have another challenge for you. I want you to read it again, but this time I want you to look for God instead of yourself. Look for what he loves, what he hates, what motivates him to do what he does. And that is not the natural way we move in the world. We're always self-oriented when we lean into things. And so I was reading scripture like it was, I treated it like a pharmacy. Like, let me go to it to get what I need. And I would get frustrated when God did something different than I think I would have done or that I think is right. And so he really challenged me. This is not a book about you. It's for you, but it's not about you. It's about God.
Yeah.
And that awakened this whole new joy and freedom and love that I didn't even really know was possible. Like, when I would see people act like they loved God, I kind of thought, are they faking that? I didn't know that it could be real. And so it awakened this real love, this person that I knew and believed in, but mostly knew secondhand. I started to have this firsthand relationship with him, and it changed everything. And I want that for so many people, because so many people exist in sort of this dry, frustrating, boring, distant, secondhand relationship with God.
So can I ask you what it was you didn't like when you read through it before? What was it that you didn't like about it?
Man, there's so much in there that's challenging, isn't
Yes,
it? Like, when you read and you're like, why did you do this? Why did this happen? Why didn't I think I would make a better God than you? It was a lot of his decisions and his actions that I thought, that's not right. And I didn't have a lens for the whole story. I was dropping in to sections of the scriptures and really just reading them like they were about me. And so that was something that it was really incredible to watch. The second year through, I'm reading the same book, but with a different lens, and had a totally different experience,
Okay.
which is wild.
Yeah, yeah. So for someone who may still be on that other side where, oh, I've read it before, it's boring, I don't like God, what would you have to say to them?
Come read it with me, because I'm going to point to the character of God. I'm going to show you, we're going to wrestle in those spaces. There are places where I say, look, right here Jesus says, I don't come to bring peace but a sword. And then other places where he says, blessed are the peacemakers. How does he say both of those things and not contradict himself? Let's talk about it. And some of the places we get to the bottom of it, and some of the places we live in that tension. And I think to honor the scripture well, you can't answer questions scripture doesn't answer, but you can point to something that brings people joy and delight in spaces that they might not have otherwise found it. Just beauty in these little, these things that kind of are hidden in the cultural context, the historical context. We're going to mine for gold. It is a treasure hunt every day. And I promise you, if you read the Bible with me, your heart will be transformed.
Awesome. Now, for those who are still going to be like, okay, you know, they yeah, and you know what you know those
for
people,
sure,
you encounter those people.
They're rightful hesitations people have.
Right, and just don't have that knowledge and that relationship. So talk a little bit about that, how that changed you, of course, and now it went from just something that you read to now you feel like you have that relationship.
Yeah.
With God.
I think the first thing I would say to people is, if you, like for me, when my pastor challenged me to read through scripture, I didn't want to. I thought it was boring. I thought it was dry. I thought it was confusing, and I didn't want to. But I wanted to want to. And I just leaned into that want to. And it seems like a daunting task to read through the whole Bible, but you can read the whole Bible in a year in 12 minutes a day. And so if you do the podcast with me or the YouTube, that's 8 minutes a day. So you got 20 minutes a day. And you can, if you are a slow reader or you can't read or you have a learning disability, the Bible app will read it to you for free. You can have it read to you, especially on those days that have all the confusing names. That's such a helpful resource.
But they're all important,
right?
though.
Exactly. But if I'm going to get stuck trying to pronounce that name, I'll just let somebody else do the heavy lifting. Read it to me. So we will encourage people to do that, and then encourage them to either do the podcast and the video for another 8 minutes. You can speed me up, listen to me at 1.5x, make it shorter. Or the book is 2 pages a day. And all of that, for most people, is very manageable. Most of us aren't not reading the Bible because we don't have time. Most of us are not reading the Bible because we don't understand it, we don't want to. And so if you can lean into the want to, and I can help you with the comprehension piece, it's going to change everything.
So if I do that, how can I apply that to to my life every day. So I'm going to sit down, I'm going to read it every day. So when I go out and go to work, to go to school, or get into my life, how is that going to help me?
Every day we end with what we call the God shot, which is our snapshot of God and his character. So I was tempted to end every day with an application piece, like, okay, here's what we learned, now go and live it out. And that's important. It's important to live out what we know and believe. But what I found is, if we, instead of trying to figure out how to transform our lives to go be good people or good Christians, that is a lot of self-motivated, and often it's still treating Scripture like it's about me. And so if what I do instead is look for the character and the person of God, and I behold who God is, and I find God beautiful, then that's going to pour out into my life. So for instance, if I see, a lot of people will read Scripture and they'll be like, oh, my takeaway today, my application point is I need to be more patient with my children. But you're going to get halfway through the day and you're going to have yelled at your kids 4 times already, and you're going to feel like a failure.
They're going to get on your nerves.
Exactly.
It's inevitable. Yes.
Exactly. So you're going to feel like a failure, and you're not going to want to show up and read Scripture again the next day. But if you read Scripture and you go, God is so patient with his children, God is so patient with me, and you behold who God is, then that begins to transform your life in a way that is natural as you fall in love with something and you want to be more like it, and you begin to extend that into the world around you. So it does have a transformative effect. But instead of me going, I've got to muscle up and I've got to make this happen, it happens out of love and out of overflow.
And I like what you said too, is it's not about me. And we do approach it from that perspective. It's much bigger than that. So the things that you're dealing with, the things that you're going through, it's really not about me. It's about God sending you through certain things. Would you say that's some of the feedback that you've gotten, and people start to realize that and how that comes about?
Oh, absolutely. And I think when we treat it like it's about us, we miss a lot of the other stories about who God is that are so formative to who he is. Because a lot of us are just, honestly, sometimes we're just concerned with not committing the embarrassing sins. And we don't care about things like pride and greed and vanity and oppression of the poor and injustice. We are so fixated on how to better ourselves. And we miss the point, we miss the heart of God.
What's next? What's down the road? This podcast is taken off, so what comes next?
We just released a children's version of the Bible recap. And that's been really cool because we find that kids are doing this with their families anyway. And so we wanted to make sort of a devotional and activity book that families and children can use to get kids engaged with the Word early on, so that they don't end up like me, having been a full-grown adult before I'd ever read through the Bible. We now have 5-year-olds who have read through the Bible with their parents every year. And I meet them and they are quoting things that they've heard me say. And it's just incredible that they are leaning into Scripture. So we're super excited to deploy this opportunity for children.
Okay. And the last question, somebody who has not heard of the podcast, they hear about it, why should they start listening?
Oh man, there is joy for you. There is joy out there for you that I am so excited for you to engage with. Like spaces of freedom and joy and hope that you've always longed for, that the God of the universe who created you with a purpose out of love intends for you.